In this video, we'll be teaching you guys two ways to condition your decks. The first is by breaking in, and the second is by applying fanning powder. So first, we'll start by teaching you guys how to break in a deck of cards. Breaking in your deck will make it softer, slightly less slippery, and easier to control in general. So the way to do that is basically to do a series of moves that will bend the cards in every possible direction, right? So the couple of moves that we do recommend is the riffle shuffle, the spring, in both directions, the paw spread, also in both directions, and finally pressure fans. Right? So if you do all of these moves consecutively and repeat this process for a couple of times, this will result in your deck being a lot softer and easier to control. And that's the process of breaking in your cards. So fanning powder is a tool to help you condition your deck such that it will be able to fan. Some people like to apply it to a brand new deck because it increases the friction between each card. Others like to apply it to an old deck because this way it regains its ability to fan. And there are also people that just don't like how it feels, and so they don't use it at all. No matter which you are, we encourage you to try out fanning powder first, and you can decide for yourself. To apply fanning powder, you need to get yourself some. And so this is what it looks like. It generally comes in a little bottle, and it costs around $5 to $10. Right? So once you have this ready, to begin, you're going to start by spreading or fanning your cards in any way. Right? Doesn't have to be perfect. Once you have your spread or fan, take the fanning powder and apply some onto the surface. Make sure you don't use too much, because it will have an effect even with a tiny amount. Not sure if you can see it, but you can see that I have some powder spread across the fan. And once you've done that, you can use your finger to rub the powder to make sure that it gets onto every single card. Okay. Once you've done that, square up the cards, and you should have all the fanning powder on one surface. Right, for me it's this side over here. And to make sure that it actually gets onto the face of every card, you'll be doing a couple of pharaohs. So notice that I still have the powder on this surface here. So we're going to be bringing this packet up and pharaohing it into the other. Right, this ensures that the powder gets onto the actual surface of the card. Okay, and so you want to repeat this step for a couple of times. Okay, once you've done that, what you want to do next is you're going to do this overhand shuffle looking thing. Basically, you grab the deck between your thumb and your middle, like so. And you're going to come over with your left hand and slide off a single card with your thumb, one at a time, like this. And make sure you're applying good pressure downwards as you're sliding the card off. Alright? This makes sure that the powder is spread evenly across the surface. Alright, so you want to do this, pull off one card at a time until you finish the whole deck. Right? And once you've done that, you're going to repeat this process, but for the other face. Right? So I'm going to be skipping this process, but you want to do it for both faces, and then you want to repeat this whole process for a couple of times, as many times as you can actually. And with that, you should be able to get a deck that will fan properly. So the method of applying fanning powder that we just taught you is one that is developed by a cardist known as Predator. And we believe that it is the most effective way to apply fanning powder. However, of course, there are other ways that are simpler if you found that one to be too troublesome. So what a lot of people like to do is that they'll take a plastic bag, they'll spring the cards into the bag, and tie up the bag and shake it for 1 to 2 minutes. Right? The problem with that though is that while you're doing so, while shaking the bag, a lot of cards tend to clump up within the bag, and so the powder doesn't actually get onto the surface of every card. So we really recommend that you try the method that we taught first.